In the heart of war, when bullets fly like angry bees. When the earth trembles, and men forget they ever smiled. There are stories that never make it to the news. Stories of men who met God, not in a church, but in the dust, the blood, and the silence after an explosion. This is one of those stories. They called him Private David Kane. A young Nigerian soldier, 26 years old. Before the war, he was just an ordinary mechanic from Port Harcourt. A man who loved fried plantain, old reggae music, and his mother's laughter. He joined the army because he wanted to make her proud. But when he got to the battlefield in Maiduguri, he realized pride disappears quickly when death becomes your roommate. Every day, David woke up to the sound of gunfire. Every night, he counted his blessings and his bullets. He wasn't the bravest soldier, no. He was just human. He missed home. He missed peace. He missed the sound of rain on his workshop roof. Sometimes, in the middle of gunfire, he would whisper, "God, I don't even know if you're real. But if you are, don't forget me here." It happened on a Tuesday morning. The kind of day that starts with silence before disaster. David and his platoon were sent to a small village near the Sambisa forest. Their mission, rescue civilians trapped between insurgents and government forces. Everything seemed calm. Too calm. Then, boom. An explosion tore through the air. The ground shook. David's ears rang like church bells gone mad. Men screamed. Dust covered everything. He saw his closest friend, Corporal Hossein, fall to the ground, motionless. David dropped beside him, crying, "Stay with me, Hossein. Don't close your eyes." But Hossein was gone. Before David could process it, gunfire erupted from the trees. They were surrounded. Enemies everywhere. David ran, heart pounding, hiding behind a broken wall. Bullets flew past his head. He prayed again, not out of faith, but out of fear. "God, please. I'm too young to die." And then, something strange happened. In the middle of chaos, in the smoke and the screams, David heard a voice. Soft. Calm. Like water running through rocks. "David." He froze. The voice spoke again. "David, stand up. Go left." He thought he was losing his mind. "Who's there?" he shouted. But again, the voice came, clearer this time. "Go left. Now." Without thinking, he obeyed. He ran left, away from the firing. Just seconds later, a grenade exploded where he had been hiding. He fell to the ground, panting, covered in dust. His hands shook. His heart thumped like a drum. He whispered, "Who are you?" The voice replied, "Don't be afraid. I'm with you." For the next 3 hours, David followed the voice. It told him when to move, when to hide, when to wait. At one point, he was about to step on a landmine. But the voice said, "Stop." He stopped. And right there, half buried in the sand, was a metal trigger. He fell to his knees, trembling. "God, is this really you?" No answer. Just a feeling. Warm, peaceful, stronger than fear. He made it out of the ambush alive. Out of a team of 16 soldiers, only 3 survived. And all 3 said the same thing. If David hadn't shouted, "Follow me," we'd all be dead. But David didn't remember shouting anything. He remembered only following instructions, from a voice no one else heard. When they returned to base, David couldn't sleep. His mind replayed everything. The voice, the timing, the miracle. He went to the camp chaplain and said, "Sir, I think God spoke to me." The chaplain looked at him and smiled. "David, God still speaks. The question is, will you still listen when there's no gunfire?" That question sat in David's heart for weeks. A few months later, the army received supplies, food, weapons, and funds. David's unit was put in charge of distribution. Corruption was no more there. Most soldiers would hide some food, steal some fuel, sell the rest in the black market. David's commander, Major Paul, called him aside and said, "Kane, this is our chance. Nobody will know. We share the money, and everyone keeps quiet." David hesitated. That night, he sat alone, thinking. The voice came again. "David, don't take what's not yours." He stood up sharply. Again. He looked around, but there was no one. He obeyed. The next morning, he refused to sign the false report. 2 days later, the unit was inspected by the High Command. Those who had stolen were arrested. David was promoted. Months passed. The war continued, and so did David's quiet faith. One evening, after a long mission, he received a letter from home. His mother wrote, "My son, last Tuesday around 10 a.m. I was praying for you. Suddenly, I heard a voice in my heart saying, 'Don't worry, your son will go left and live.' I don't know what it means. But I know God spoke to me that day." David dropped the letter and wept. It was the exact moment of the ambush. But war is cruel. It doesn't reward faith. It tests it. A year later, David's team was ambushed again, this time worse. He was captured, beaten, and locked in a small metal cage for weeks. He prayed, but there was no voice this time. Only silence. Only hunger. He began to doubt. "Maybe it was never God," he whispered. "Maybe it was just my mind playing tricks." One night, when the guards were asleep, he saw a small crack in the wall, shining faintly. The moonlight formed the shape of a cross. And then he heard the voice again. Not loud, but inside his heart. "David, I was always here. Even in silence." With renewed strength, he broke the lock, crawled out, and escaped through the forest. He walked for 3 days without food until he reached a village, where he was rescued by local hunters. When the war finally ended, David left the army. He didn't want medals or interviews. He wanted peace. He went back to Port Harcourt, reopened his workshop, and started fixing cars again, this time for free for widows and struggling soldiers. People called him the soldier mechanic. Years later, a journalist came to interview him. "Sir, you survived things most men didn't. What's your secret?" David smiled and said, "I just followed orders." The journalist laughed. "From your commanders?" David looked up quietly. "No. From someone higher." One afternoon, while working on an old truck, David heard footsteps. He turned, and there stood a young man in a military uniform. "Sir, are you Private David Kane?" "Yes." The young soldier smiled. "My name is Hossein Jr. You saved my father's life in that first ambush years ago. He always spoke about the voice you heard. Before he died, he told me, 'If you ever find that man, tell him God truly spoke through him.'" David's eyes filled with tears. He hugged the boy and whispered, "No. God spoke to all of us. We just need to listen differently." Years later, after David's death, his workshop became a small foundation for war veterans. A place called The Voice in the middle of war. On the wall, they engraved his favorite saying, "Faith doesn't always shout, sometimes it whispers." And people who came there said they could still feel something in that place. A quiet peace, like a voice that doesn't need words to be heard. In every war, whether it's bullets or heartbreak, we all fight something. And sometimes, when the world is loud and cruel, the only voice we need to hear is the one that speaks inside. Some call it conscience. Some call it instinct. David called it God. And maybe, just maybe, he was right. You enjoy stories that touch the heart and teach real-life lessons? Please subscribe to my channel. Your support helps me create more inspiring African stories filled with love, hope, and powerful emotions. Don't forget to like, share, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Thank you for being part of this storytelling family.